and our next speaker, Daniel Kraus, founded Flixbus in 2011 with his friend from high school. Now a rapidly growing business, Daniel is the managing director and CIO in charge of the technological development. He's here to talk about Flixbus's journey with Atlassian and Trello. Please welcome Daniel to the stage.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. So the question is, first of all, do you guys know Flixbus, depending on where you're from? Oh, that's quite good, because as you might have realized, Spain is not our core market yet, since we're still waiting for legislation changes here. Anyhow, I'll just talk a little bit about the journey and the last things we did at Flixbus and how Atlassian, in particular Trello, supported that journey and is continuously supporting us. So basically, now in 2017, we are more or less the largest intercity bus provider in Europe. And the fun fact is, with all those numbers, 1,000 buses, over 70 million annual passengers transporting potentially this year, and 6 offices and even more, that all had been accomplished without a single bus. So the interesting part about Flixbus is not that we're green, cool color indeed, but the interesting part is we do not have our drivers employed or own our buses. But we're at least 50% a technology company, and focusing on our customers, put them in the middle and develop great software to really have a better experience going from A to B than it was before. And I think until now it seems we did a good job, and it's growing. We just recently opened a new office in Stockholm and are very much focusing on the Nordics market. And well, very proud of being part of that journey. And it's not that we were inventing something brand new. Buses and transportation mobility itself had been around forever. And in the short distance, in the inner city sections, we have seen like the Ubers, the MyTaxis, and many other disrupting that mobility sector already. And on the long and mid-distance part, there was barely anything. And I guess the reason was it's not that easy to deal with the legislation. It's always challenging and different in any country. And you have quite some invests to tackle. So if we would have bought those 1,000 buses, with each of them approximately €500,000, well, nobody, not a single venture capital fund, no bank, no private equity fund would have given us that money to put it into our P&L. And therefore, it was the challenge to create some franchise system, to put partners together, to come up with a network. And it seems that we had, when started off 2013 in Germany, a good timing. And we're able to just came up with that network, and therefore put the risk among others and different shoulders, and specialized ourselves on what we're great at, talking about it in a bit, and having bus companies all over Europe who are pros at running buses kind of forever, and therefore could have kind of disrupted the long distance market, where usually all the other players which are broadly known are either originally governmental owned or still governmental owned. In France, it's SNCF on the railway. In Germany, it's Deutsche Bahn. But there was not as many private companies. And one interesting part is also in the airline industry, beside the new players like Ryanair, most of the other players forever didn't really manage to really make money overall. Because, as said, if you really have so much assets, you potentially have to focus on things which are not really customer-focused and very innovative, which we, together with Atlassian, did. So, as I said, in general, the system is, we have 5,000 drivers approximately who run those 1,000 buses at 250 bus companies, where we work very closely together with. And I guess I don't know a very similar business model in the transportation industry, but those McDonald's or Burger King scenarios are kind of similar because it's franchise. We really tell those guys the buses have to be green and what the certain quality factors are in terms of They have to have Wi-Fi on board. The drivers have to be trained, and they have to, look similar. All these kind of things. So, in the best case, people don't realize that this part of the business is not originally Flixbus. But what we do with our southern colleagues, mainly in Berlin and Munich, but also Milan, Paris, as said, Zagreb and Stockholm, is everything else. So it's not only that we plan the inventory and put the prices, the revenue management on top of, we do also obviously the marketing and the sales, and we came up with a certain brand and experience which should give the bus a more modern and nice feeling than it was before, because most of us have known buses forever, but usually we either got beaten up on the way to school, or maybe, I don't know, grandparents came back with some, heating blankets and stuff like that, so it was not very sexy to talk about buses. And I guess we wanted to change that. And beside the rooftop, which is the brand and the customer experience, the most important part at Flixbus, which is not as easy to see from the outside, is our technology, because whatever thing we do, from the planning software piece to the yield management and revenue, all the big data and artificial intelligence stuff, obviously, until the order management and the sales channels and everything, we do in-house. So it's over 150 engineers working at Flixbus to provide the coolest stuff to our customers. And what we figured in the meantime is, in terms of production inventory, yes, we have started with buses. But it's the question, what do we serve? People want to go from A to B, most convenient, and want to use their time different. They don't really care about whether it's a bus or a car or a train, and therefore, potentially, we will see in the future not only green buses, but other green long-distance vehicles. And what we already did is, we just took the data, the information we gathered, and came up with some additional service. We just charter, we rent buses to groups, because we got knowledge from how much it costs to run a bus a kilometer, and with all those information gathered, you can just expand your business model a little. When we started, that was classical startup style. We were 3 guys, basically, as mentioned. One of them, who you see sitting next to me, he and I, we went to school together like 25 years ago. So super classical story, and after joining strategy consultants BCG, and I personally worked for Microsoft for a while, we just came back together and thought we have to do something. And then the market opened up, because the good thing about the European Union is they have forced the countries to liberalize that, and Germany was one among the first. We did so, and initially we had no cool software, because there was nothing we created our own. There was no Atlassian, no Trello, and therefore we had to do pen and paper and everything attached to the walls. And therefore our largest investment was also the printer we really had to have. I mean, if not, we potentially would have handwritten all that stuff on the wall. And, well, we felt a little bit like the tiny little guy, because if you start in such a market which is not only a cool technology piece, but you have to deal with all the legislation challenges with operations, with buses, and there are large incumbents around, you usually are afraid first, and then you realize after a while the good thing and the benefit of the little guy is he potentially is much faster than the large one, and speed is the only thing what matters. And speed means the speed of how we engineer, the speed of our decisions, and the speed of all the tool chains and everything we use, so we can really focus on the good thing and good things and deliver value. It all happened throughout 4 to 5 years before the first bus in February 2013 hit the road. We had 1 year of preparation. And that came to the point that this year in February we had the 5th anniversary. And we started with, 7 lines, 30 buses, and managed to grow into 21 countries with over 120,000 connections daily. And it's the same on the organization side, which was, in my point of view, one of the greatest challenges we had to tackle. From 2 to 3 guys in one room, which is easy, you just shout at each other if something doesn't run, until 1,000 guys all over Europe, which you have to bring together so they can continuously, do a great job. And well, there Atlassian and in particular Trello came into place, because after we figured we can not only keep on investing in new printers to get all the walls painted, we had a couple tools tried out, and Trello was just so easy, it kind of spread out by itself. And in particular, the software guys, when they were more than myself, and we were kind of a first team, second team, and tried to work agile, Trello was a real good starting point, because it was incredibly easy to introduce. And over time, obviously, well, it's more than only Trello, because when you grow bigger and now have 150 people to deal with, and have more Scrum teams, and have investors on board who ask questions, at a certain point you want to professionalize and double check, okay, what are strengths of Trello, or where potentially Atlassian tools from the classical side dig in, and there we had to change to Jira Software in the engineering, just to have the capability to have better KPIs and have more dashboarding capabilities and more structured approach. And not only that we have started that from the cloud perspective, over time just we had Confluence put in, we worked a while with Bitbucket, and then it turned out that we had to customize, and obviously, well, customization is something where at least us, we had to make the decision to put things onto our own cloud infrastructure, and are now running in the tech department. Many things on the classical Atlassian, stack. But it turned out that the business, they found it so great, that Trello thing, that they really enjoyed working with tech, which is kind of uncommon, and it spread like a disease. So when we were only 2 teams or 3 teams initially working with Trello, meanwhile, it's over 700 people in the company working with Trello, which is much more than the pure techies who have their Scrum processes in Atlassian software. And that turns out that we have over 200 Trello boards and literally do everything in Trello. And what I want to share is just a couple examples what we do with Trello. So one interesting part is, how does a bus hit the road? It's not that, well, it just goes by itself. You have to have a partner, you have to have concessions, and you have different stakeholders until operations who have to deal with that. And therefore, we just have a Trello where, the certain columns are the stages of a line until it hits production, so to say. And you have the boards, which are the individual lines. And ultimately, you have your statuses, and you can invite the people. And it's quite easy to really have a seamless, transparent process. And we still manage our winter and summer schedule through Trello. And in April, have managed to change more or less 700 or 1,000 buses into a new schedule seamlessly. On the other side, well, there's marketing, cross-collaboration. The stakeholders of our tech teams obviously are the business teams, and one good example is marketing, who has like 1,000 ideas in particular on the app on the mobile side, and there we use together with them also Trello, so they can just, like in an inbox system, put all the stuff there with a short description, and then we can discuss and also move it through the different states. And if it's defined well enough, then it goes into Jira Software, where a real story is being created. But before that, you have a free ideation process, which is super transparent, and everybody can sit there, and you have no push, but a real pull principle, which is easy for everyone to use. And last but not least, it's as free that everybody can, come up with initiatives. And one of the most prominent initiatives is that we have obviously 1,000 of books, also more in the tech department than in other departments, I guess. But for some time, they bought books in Munich and in Berlin, and even if there was a door in between, they had purchased two similar books. And Then someone came up and said, we do a library, and also therefore Trello is used. They just have all the books registered there, and it's stated who has it currently and what is needed, and they just, freely see how they can have their daily challenges put into Trello and easily automate that and have just a very, very transparent way of sharing. And therefore, it changed over time how we use Trello, but it was more and more in general, and it's still continuing, and I really can say our company loves it, and I'm looking forward to even more integration between the classical Atlassian suite and Trello to have an even better integration and moving things. And therefore, congratulations again to Atlassian for having purchased Trello. Thanks for your audience. I'm around for questions. Feel free. Thank you very much.